In William Faulkner's As They Lie Dying, the tale is told of the Bunyan family on a journey to bury their mother in the town of Jefferson. Written in a stream of consciousness and told by many narrators, the novel has a plethora of thematic concepts to draw upon. Recurring themes in the book included both the shocking maltreatment of animals, in particular livestock, and, in the same breath, the leading woman in the text also being portrayed or compared to these same livestock. In using livestock to symbolize women, Faulkner draws parallels between the treatment of the two groups and shows that women were dehumanized and degraded by society. Many would ask, is this comparison really so bad? Whenever animals and humans are compared, this usually carries a negative connotation, because animals are thought of as lower or baser creatures by many. Particularly when women are portrayed as livestock, which are domestic animals, this would seem to signal that they should be confined to domestic roles. Above all, livestock are for profit. They are to be exploited, and when they can be no further, they are to be eaten. Thus, they are utterly replaceable. This comparison supports the marginalization of women into objects and leads to a materialistic view on them. Interestingly enough, right before Faulkner wrote this book, in the 1800s, was the time that most of the key legislation for animal rights was being passed, which started out with the protection of cattle, later expanded, and in 1877, the American Humane Society was founded. Also during this time, women's rights began to take off, with a key Seneca Falls Convention of 1848. But as shown today, it seems in Faulkner's book that these progressive movements seem to be slower moving in some areas. Cora in this book is symbolized by a hen. You first get this impression when she is introduced with eggs and chicken. It also fits according to Irene Rodriguez of Brown University. Hens are supposed to be small and contrite, and are often thought of positively, like other fowl, think swans and doves. She is a good Christian woman and does exactly what she ought, but she is also very confined to her role. While she trusts in the Lord's ability to see into the hearts of others, this is a blind trust. She also states on page 23 that a woman's place is with her husband and children, dead or alive. She's also very fussy and small-brained. You get a general sense of disapproval from her on how Addie raises her children throughout the course of the novel. Cora is dehumanized and degraded, while hens carry a slightly more positive connotation than other animals. She is still, in essence, a livestock animal, easily replaceable, and when she has outlived her usefulness, she will be disposed of. The cow in this story symbolizes Dewey Dell. The reader first gets this impression with the rather intimate and frankly odd scene on pages 61 through 64, where Dewey Dell says, "What you got in you ain't nothing to what I got in me, even if you are a woman too." Here we recognize for the first time a sense of camaraderie between Dewey Dell and the cow, as she recognizes her as another mother figure. Also, this follows with Irene Rodriguez again. The cow is a symbol of fertility and is often associated with women being rather loose, but it is also associated with the innocence and purity of some religions. We see this idea represented with Dewey Dell, with her teen pregnancy representing the rather fertile and looser side of the cow, but also in her innocence, as page 248, she willingly follows this man down into the cellar to get her abortion cure. This continues the plight of the woman in this play. Dewey Dell is blatantly taken advantage of, and throughout the play, while various characters acknowledge how hard it is for women, none of them actually seem to want to do anything about it. This is seen chiefly through Dewey Dell and her situation, where she is trying to get the help she so desperately wants, but no one is willing to provide it for her. This shows the continued degradation and lack of respect that women had. Addie Bunyan is symbolized by a horse. This is first concretely stated by Peabody on page 45, when he describes her as a pack horse for the other Bunyans. However, this is backed up by Aimee Rodriguez's analysis of horses' use in literature. Horses represent freedom and journeys, but also, when used to describe women, are characteristic of them being rather looser on the moral side, riding. Addie fits the freedom portion of it because she is always longing for freedom. She feels confined in her role as a woman in society, feeling that she has nowhere to go and nowhere to advance, but also the journey, because she is the reason why her family members, with her along in tow dead, take this long journey to Jefferson. This idea is further cemented by Jules' devotion to his horse, but it is curiously juxtaposed with his other treatment of animals. On page 13, Jules kicks him, the horse, in the stomach. This is one of many acts of animal cruelty, but Jules also is extraordinarily devoted to his horse, and his mother, he says on page 15, he wishes it was just me and her. Again, we see another juxtaposition when the Bunyans, Jules in tow, lets the mules die in the river with their legs sticking up. Again, we see a good side. When the barn burns after Darl sets it on fire, they take special care to make sure they get all the animals out, including the horses and cows. Jules' attachment to his horse represents the strong tie he feels to his mother. After all, he is his mother's treasure, his jewel, the one thing that she did for himself. But he also gets rid of his horse when he sells it for ants. But you see here that the horses and animals only matter if they are priced on them, if they are needed, if there's some value to them. That's not sentimental. All the animals that are hurt in this story are the Bunyan's own animals, the mules, and then earlier Jules kicking his horse. While animal cruelty does trace its roots back to even the 12th century, clearly here we see a huge degradation of women, dehumanizing them, comparing them to the animals that are so often abused. Here we see women are truly seen as objects by society. This is why they are dehumanized and degraded, compared to animals that are regularly abused. Faulkner is making a point about society. Ants finds that Addie is readily replaceable, just like his teeth, when she is barely in the ground and he has already propositioned a new wife. As I finish my picture here, is it two horses or is it a face? To ants and the other members of Faulkner's society and as they lie dying, I'm not sure it would make much difference.